Hey guys, BJ, is Very Basic Bible. Going to do a very basic Bible topic. Going to be a shorter video where we kind of quickly go through a Bible topic. Share screen. I'm going to find a random verse and then talk about a random thing in the verse. Let's see. Go to, where was it? Ecclesiastes. Go to chapter 3. Why not? There we go. All right, here we go. All right. It's chapter 1. I hit chapter 3, but it did. Oh, verse. Here we go. All right. I recognized that there is nothing better than to rejoice and to do well during life. Moreover, that all can eat and drink and enjoy the good of all their toil, that this is a gift of God. I recognize that whatever God does will endure forever. There is no adding to it, no or taking from it. Thus has God done that he may be revered. What now is has already been. What is to be already is. God retrieves what has gone by. Sounds kind of philosophical. You know, whatever God does endures, whatever now is, and up here, all you can do is like nothing better just to eat and enjoy and life and stuff. And hey, God knows that, good gift of toil. All right, yeah. Toil. And also that everyone should eat and drink and find enjoyment in all his toil. Look over here at the New Living Translation. Excuse me. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor. Sees good in all his labor. Let's go real quick. Christian Standard Bible. Christian Standard Bible. All his efforts. It is also the gift of God, whenever anyone eats, drinks, and enjoys all his efforts. Got toil, 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 labor, labor. Let's hit up the New American Standard. NASB. Let's type in labor. Let's see what happens. Then to Adam, he said, this is God talking to Adam, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and you have eaten from the tree which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. With hard labor you shall eat from it all the days of your life. Control F. Labor. Okay, cursed. Because you listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat it. Adam, I told you not to eat it, but you listened to your wife instead of to me. Cursed is the ground because of you. With hard labor you shall eat from it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall grow for you. The ground's going to grow thorns and thistles instead of food. With hard labor you shall eat from the ground. Everybody in the Bible, farmers, right? So they're already working. They're already having to labor or toil. They're already having to work. They're giving out their effort. But now what's going to happen because of their effort? Ground to become cursed. Thorns and thistles shall grow instead of food to eat. You shall eat the plants of the field. Okay, that's good. By the sweat of your face, you shall eat bread. So it's going to be hard. They're going to get really sweaty. What happens when you're working? You're in the AC, you're feeling good, but you're outside and it's hard and you're having to work very hard. You get all sweaty. And you're going to do this until you return to the ground, because from the ground you were taken. For you are dust, and to dust you shall return. So over here, moreover, every person who eats and drinks, sees good in all his labor, takes pleasure in all his toil, but God just told Adam it's going to be difficult, right? So I got a little bit of a discrepancy. This guy in Ecclesiastes saying, hey, if you do good, you're going to be happy. God's like, no, it's going to be difficult to Adam. All right, let's see. Oh, look at it. And he named him Noah, saying, this one will give us comfort from our work and from the hard labor of our hands caused by the ground which the Lord has cursed. Hey, they're related there. They think that Noah is going to give them comfort, going to somehow deliver them from this curse of the ground. Well, God floods the earth, right, during Noah's day. The God of my father, the God of Abraham, the fear of Isaac, had not been for me, surely now you have sent me away empty handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands. So he rendered judgment last night. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands. So he rendered judgment. God's seen how hard I've worked. Right? I'm not sure who that is. Let's just go look. Let's go see. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban. Okay, Control F. Jacob worked for 14 years for Laban, and Laban kept changing Jacob's wages. Laban's like, hey, you can have all the spotted lambs. And Jacob made sure that the lambs were all spotted. Then Laban was like, no, 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 you can have the lambs that are striped. And Jacob made sure the lambs that were striped, all the lambs. Laban was like, no, 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 no more striped lambs. We're going to change it back to plain lambs. Jacob then made sure all the lambs are plain. Obviously, it's a miracle, right? You know, he did some weird thing, but okay, labor right here. Oh, Jacob became angry and argued with Laban. Okay, so yeah, for these 20 years, I've been in your house. I served you 14 years for your two daughters, 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the God and the fear of Isaac had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty handed. The only reason I'm not going away empty handed is because God is for me. The God of my ancestors is for me. So you're not sending me away empty handed. Why? God. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands. So he rendered judgment last night. I think last night Jacob ran away from Laban. And Jacob's calling it God's judgment on Laban. Let's go to a few. Let's see. Oh, look, Exodus. So the Egyptians, appointed taskmasters over the Hebrews to oppress them with hard labor. And they built for Pharaoh storage cities, Pithom and Ramses. Yep. Hebrews 1:11. We skip one verse, Hebrews 1:13. The Egyptians used violence to compel the sons of Israel to labor. And they made their lives bitter with hard labor in mortar and bricks. What kind of labor was it? Mortar and bricks of all kinds of, and all kinds of labor in the field. All their labors which they violently had them perform as slaves. All the Israelites' labors which the Egyptians violently had the Israelites perform as slaves. All the they and the thee and the them. It's kind of difficult. Okay, labor. Labor can be like God put a curse on the ground because Adam and Eve disobeyed. Laban was like, hey, and so it's hard to work the ground. Laban's like, hey, I worked for you all these years, and God was nothing, but God was for me. Here, Egyptians are making Israelites hard labor. So you can see, God can give us labor. God can make our labor difficult. Other people can make labor difficult. You can work your own labor, I guess. Let's see. Deuteronomy. There's 4. Let's go look at it. Here's one. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Full chapter. 10 commandments. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods beside me. You shall not make for yourselves a carved image or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on earth below, etc., etc. Keep my commandments. That's the second command. The third, You shall not take up the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave unpunished the one who takes his name in vain. Fourth commandment, keep the Sabbath day to treat it as holy, as the Lord your God commanded you. For 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. The Hebrews, what are they supposed to do? The Ten Commandments, God said, you're going to work for 6 days. On the seventh day, no labor, no work, right? No work on the seventh day. Pretty cool, huh? God's like, hey guys, take yourselves a break. Oh, look. And the Egyptians treated us badly and oppressed us and imposed hard labor on us. I bet right here they're recounting what they did in Egypt. I bet Moses is talking in Deuteronomy. It's like Moses is telling this to all the people. So Moses is saying, hey, remember the Egyptians treated us badly and oppressed us, imposed hard labor on us. I bet he's reminding them of what Egypt did. Watch this. People whom you do not know will eat the produce of your ground and every product of your labor, and you will never be anything but oppressed and mistreated continually. Why? I'm assuming that's a curse. Remember, God cursed the ground when they disobeyed. Oh, yep. Blessings at Mount Gerizim. Mount Gerizim. Consequences of disobedience. Control F. Labor. A people, the Lord will strike you with the boils of Egypt. Because one of the 10 plagues of Egypt was boils. With the boils of Egypt and with tumors, the festering rash and with scabies from which you cannot be healed. Man, that's if. But it shall come about if you do not obey the Lord your God. Man, Israel, they better obey. God's gonna a people whom you do not know will eat the produce of your ground and every part of your labor. Man. Then Hebrews, they came in a covenant with God, right? They were like, we agree to be good to you, Lord. And God's like, okay, here's the agreement. And they're like, we know, we agree. That's fine. Yeah, you know. And that's what ends up happening. They end up disobeying, and all sorts of bad stuff ends up happening. First Kings, Ahisher was over the household, and Adoniram, the son of Abda, was over the forced labor. Forced labor, i.e., slavery? No, probably not. Maybe, but probably not slavery. I mean, they're building the temple in First Kings 4:6, and so it's Hebrews, it's Israelites building the temple. Conscription of laborers. See, there's chapter 5 for the temple. Now King Solomon conscripted forced laborers from all Israel, and the forced laborers numbered 30,000 men. So he's forcing people to work from Israel. He conscripted them. You can see how hard work, conscripted, enlist someone compulsory, typically into the armed services. Ah, okay, so it's like a draft. So he did. So Solomon, I wouldn't necessarily say there was slavery, but Solomon was like, hey, y'all are going to work. Hmm. You could see just, today we don't think about work. We think about work. Oh, I got to go to work. I got to go to work. We think about it that way. Yeah, we do. It was the same back then. There's something that's kind of similar. Now, for us, work is easy. They give us breaks. We work usually inside in the AC. We get a good paycheck. We get to go home and spend it on whatever we want. Some jobs give you medical benefits and such. You can complain to your boss. Hey, sometimes bosses don't listen. But back then, there's less of that happen. If it's God, especially like cursing to God. But Pharaoh, they were like, nope, you're slaves. We're gonna beat you up. Solomon, hey, I'm forcing you to work for me, right? Jacob worked for 7 years for women. Jacob worked for Laban for his two daughters. We don't do that today. I just asked my wife if she wanted to marry me, and then I talked to her parents. Now I knew her parents already, but maybe I could have been like talked to her parents first and been like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about asking your daughter." Kind of sprung it on them. But, they're happy with me now. Now Jeroboam was a valiant warrior, and when Solomon saw the young man was industrious, he appointed him over all the forced labor of the house of Joseph. Okay, so all this forced labor that's going on, uh, this guy named Jeroboam gets put over it. All the labor gets put over all labor. Okay. Hey, let's go look in the New Testament just to see if there's anything similar. Now, the New Testament is so many years after the Old Testament. Let's see. Why are you worried about clothing? Notice how the lilies of the field grow. They do not labor, nor do they spin thread for cloth. Why are you worried about clothing? Flowers, they grow. They don't work. They don't spin thread. You got thread. My wife does this. She's got this cotton type stuff. She she puts it in her hand and she attaches it to a thing that looks like a top. You know, a top on a desk. You spin the top and it spins around. Okay, got a heavy wooden one. It's really tall and skinny. It's heavy and wooden. It's a top. Yeah, no, no. You attach the cotton to the top of the thread. When you spin it, it spins it and it turns the cotton into thread. It's kind of neat. If you can't picture it, look it up. Look up spindle, look up spinning spindle thread. Well, that's how they made clothes back then. They would take grain, they would take cottonous fiber. They take fiber that was kind of like cotton. It was fluffy and puffy. They would put it on and they would a spindle and they would spin it and make thread out of it. Flowers. They don't labor, they don't spin for cloth, you know? And watch this. 628. Look at the birds of the sky. They don't sow, nor reap, nor gather crops in the barns. That's labor. That's what the farmers have to do. If you are in an agrarian society, if the society you grew up in is agrarian, agriculture, farming, what are you going to do? You're going to sow seeds. You're going to reap the grain that grows up from the seeds, and you're going to store it in the barns, right? Yeah, that's all they did. But the birds of the sky, they don't reap or sow nor gather in the barn. They don't have to do that. And yet, God, your heavenly Father, feeds them. Are you not much important than birds? So God's going to feed you. Which of you can, by worrying, can add a single day of his lifespan? And why are you worried about clothing? Notice how the lilies of the field grow. The flowers are growing. They don't labor. They don't spin for thread. Yet I say to you that not even Solomon, that guy that was conscripting those forced laborers to build a palace and to build a lot of stuff. They were building a lot of fancy stuff for Solomon, not just a temple for God, but Solomon stuff for Solomon himself. Not even Solomon, in all his glory, clothed himself like one of the flowers. Flowers, Jesus is saying, much prettier than Solomon. But Solomon had all those laborers working for him. Flowers, they didn't do anything and they're prettier, right? Nature is just pretty, right? But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, while they're thrown in the furnace, your agriculture, you're laboring for your crops. Then you see the flowers grow up. Uh-oh, we need to get rid of those. So you pull them out for weeds to, you're weeding. You pull those out so that the food, you can't eat flowers. The food will grow up, right? The food will grow up. Well, pull out all the flowers. What do you do with them? Throw them into a furnace. They burn up. Poof, they're gone. Okay. Flowers, which are no good for food, which are pulled up today, they they're alive today and tomorrow they're thrown into the furnace. If God clothes those things, will he not much more clothe you? You have little faith. Do not worry, saying, what are we to eat? What are we to think? Stop worrying. Worrying could be a type of labor. I'm gonna look up one more real quick. Let's go Ephesians 1. Oh, The one who steals must no longer steal, but rather he must labor, producing with his own hands what is good. So he will have something to share with the one who is in need. Okay, if you're a thief and you're like, okay, I'm a Christian now, I'm going to stop being a thief. Well, don't just stop being a thief, put that to good work. Labor with your hands, producing what is good, and then you can give to others. You're becoming a Christian. Yeah, buddy. I said one more, but we'll do one more. Colossians 1. Let's see what happens. For this purpose I labor, striving according to his power. For what purpose I labor? Striving according to his power, which works mightily in me. It's like the very last verse for this. Oh, okay. I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake. Right? Right here, 25. I was made a minister of this church according to the commission God granted me for your benefit. He was made a minister to the church by God for the people's benefit. Yeah. Work with your hands for other people. Okay. Let's see. He's going to fully carry out the preaching of the word of God. That's good. So he's working. So preaching is a type of labor. I mean, is it? Let's see. God will to make the wealth. We proclaim him, admonishing every person and teaching every person with all wisdom. We're proclaiming him and we're teaching everyone with all wisdom. We're teaching everyone so that we may present every person complete in Christ. For this purpose, I labor. So he's got to labor. He's got to work as a preacher. You know, Paul was going everywhere, all over the place, preaching and teaching people, right? You know, preachers do that. The other day, we went to go to a Bible study and they were like, the pastor's not here. She went to a hospital visit. We accidentally sent her to the wrong hospital, to the wrong hospital. She had to go to another hospital, you know. So, I mean, she has to work. She's driving around and then talking to people. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and call that quits because the Bible quick reads are supposed to be quick. I mean, the Bible topics supposed to be quick. So we'll see you on the next very basic Bible topic.